Hey everybody, it's Saturday. It's freaking beautiful out here. It's like, I think it was 70, it's going to be like 78 today. Can you believe that? 78 degrees. Beautiful Saturday. And I want to talk about Sasquatch, Bigfoot. And what I've learned after over 30 years of going out into the mountains, talking to hundreds of people that have had encounters and sightings. And I have a list of 15 topics that I know about Bigfoot or Sasquatch. And this one I'm saying Sasquatch. But I have 15 things, and it's really not in any particular order, but it is, I try to keep it in the order that I learned them over the years, over the last 30 years. And then I also want to share, check it out. I got him canned. I know it's backwards. I haven't figured out how to switch it. I think it's something, unless I turn the camera around and use the other camera on the phone, it's going to be backwards. I think it's like the selfie camera makes everything backwards, but the back camera on the back, it doesn't, but I won't be able to see if I'm lined up or anything. So it is what it is. But I got canned Sasquatch. Oh yeah, gotta love it. It talks about contents, one fuzzy Sasquatch. Ain't that cool? I'm gonna make that my little thumbnail for the video, but I'll do that after I'm done with the video. So how's everybody's Saturday, man? I hope it's nice as it is here. It is absolutely amazing, and I'm celebrating a little bit. Yesterday, day before yesterday, the 27th of February, great grandbaby number 3 was brought into the world. His name is Tobias. I'm going to call him the Tobster. And later today, I'm going to see if I can't go visit with him. He went home yesterday. I thought the home was going to be here, but it's crowded here. It would be hard for the mom to take care of him with so many people and 2 toddlers running around, his little brother running around. I'm glad that they went to the daddy's house and did this, and I'm really happy for her. I kept praying. The first grandson she had, Asher, he's 2 years old now. He was a difficult pregnancy, and we almost lost her and him. He was a little preemie, but so my wife and me and my daughter, because she almost died giving birth to that one, and I didn't think she would do it again, but she did. But we actually tag teamed taking care of the baby. So he kind of, his first 3 months, grew up sleeping in the same bed as us and my daughters, and we were back and forth because the schedule of taking care of a toddler. But the first little boy, Asher, that little dude was just home from the hospital, just a few days old. I think he was a couple of months preemie. And when you burp him after giving the bottle, this little dude was doing push-ups on my shoulder. I couldn't believe it. That was the strongest little baby. I've raised a lot of kids and handled a lot of little babies. I never seen one that was that strong, right? This kid, and he's still strong today, running around, and we're really happy that he's all healthy, got all his fingers and toes, he's talking. So 2 years old, doing good. Little Tobias, 2 days old, doing great. Asher was actually a C-section, But Tobias, she gave birth natural. And that's what she wanted. And she's even talking about now doing number 3. It's like, what? Like, are you kidding? Man, glutton for punishment. So I'm kind of happy and I'm jazzed. And hopefully today I get to go visit great grandbaby number 3. And then in Indiana, I have another one in the oven. We thought they were going to be born on the same day, but she went into labor, but then for some reason she stopped being in labor. But sometime this week, right, it's her due time. Grandbaby number 4, and it's a little girl, and that one's going to be named Lily. So I can't wait to meet Lily. Hey Patrick, what's happening, man? So yeah, so I don't think I've ever done this before. I am gonna do a video for you guys, and you know, I've been watching a lot of Bigfoot shows and talking to some people that have encounters and here locally, and I started thinking, you know, over the 30 plus years, almost 35 years that I've been, I think it's right at 33 years. I might be off. It was 1987. So 1987 till now, I'm feeling great. My back is healing. Yesterday I went to Walmart with my wife, and I noticed something. I noticed something at Walmart. Usually it is packed, payday, Friday, and we were in there in the afternoon. And I mean, it's just wall-to-wall people, little babies screaming on almost every aisle. I really don't enjoy going to Walmart usually. But yesterday, and actually a few days ago too, I noticed there was a change in the Walmart. The whole atmosphere was different. I couldn't put my finger on it. Guess what's different? Especially here in Central California, where we're the state, you know, where you can go and the government can't get you. Not anymore. ICE can come after you here now. But there was none of those in there, you know, the not so legals. There wasn't any not so legals in the Walmart. I was like, yes. And I had to get a little cart. They took the bandages off the back, so walking around, and my wife's like, maybe you should cover it up with something, because I'm trying to wear regular clothes, and my pants and my shirt and belt and everything rub right on the incision sites. There's 2 incision sites, so it's kind of hard to walk around. So I got one of those little carts, but I had a great old time running people over, bashing into carts, knocking things off shelves. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hey, great seeing you all. It's a great Saturday. It's 70 right here, or above 70. It's going to be in the mid 70s. It's already 70. I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt because I've been out here for a while. And then for you guys that didn't see, I got Sasquatch in a can. Ha ha. Yeah, so I thought, you know, I really never. Hi Elle, how are you? And Gladys, hey, I'm doing so great, so great, so great. I hope my sound is okay. 11:44, I think that's what it is here. I'm in Cali. San Francisco, it's going to be a nice, beautiful city again. Guess what else is happening in California? And I'm jazzed. I can't wait. We have the most strictest air control and gun laws in the world. Well, not in the world, but in the 50 United States, California is the strictest on air control, water. You've heard the president talk about the water, how he released the water to California because they were running it out in the ocean instead of letting the farmers down here have it. And we're like the breadbasket of the United States right here. I know they grow a lot of stuff everywhere, but California, we grow a lot of stuff, or we did until they shut the water off. And when they shut the water off, it doesn't let the water table replenish. So we are running out of water in California. Not anymore. The president opened it up. We got water coming now. And it's been raining weird. It's actually been raining. Hey, Digger. Yeah, you know what's really weird, and I hope this changes. When you go to the grocery store and you want to buy peaches or, fruits and vegetables that we grow right here, less than a mile away from me, there is the best peaches, big old juicy, yummy peaches. When I go to the grocery store, there's these little round hard things, not juicy, not yummy. And then when you look and see where it came from South America, Mexico. And then I found out they ship our really good, big, fat fruit to the other countries and they charge more for it. I guess that's how it goes, right? Peach. I'm peachy today. So California, this president is awesome. I watched him smack down the little dictator yesterday, boot him out of the White House. Man, the dude's got big old giant brass, you know what. I love this president. And don't get me wrong, it's one of those things, where you probably would not get along with this person like a best friend or hang out with them because you have nothing in common. You probably wouldn't like the guy personally, but you never let that get in the way with running a business. And the United States is the biggest business in the world. We're the biggest consumers. That's okay, Renee. No problem at all. I actually slept in a little bit. I slept in until 7:30. Weird, but it felt good. Biggest business. So we always vote in a stupid politician that never ran a business in his life, probably doesn't have a 4-year degree, can't even probably spell their name, right? And then we have this guy, the head of the biggest business in the United States. And we've been doing that for years and years and years. Finally, we have a guy that's a billionaire, builder, constructor, businesses all over, casinos, all kinds of stuff, billionaire. That's always who we should have had, man. We should have had CEOs and stuff like that. We should have never, ever let this happen. Wow, that sounds cool. Missing 411 is really cool. I watched that guy's videos too. In fact, interviewed that guy, David Paulides, 3 times. I think I have some interviews on my channel that you could go find from way back in the day where we interviewed him. 3 hours, right? Long time. He's a cool guy. He's a pretty cool guy, and he has some pretty cool stuff. I'm going to try not to mess with my microphone. So, today, so the guy, our president, is kicking ass and taking names. And he's doing exactly what our country needs. Our government's way too big. Way too big. And they keep growing it bigger and bigger and bigger. They have managers over the managers and just way too many people. And he's cutting them back, and that's what we need. And I know a lot of people are crying about it. Oh, the rangers in the national parks, they let them go. Oh my God, the IRS is going away. The EPA is going away. The EPA, the one that makes us put catalytic converters and smog checks and cost us $1 bazillion in California, going away. All the regulations that strangle businesses in every state where they don't let you build for 1.5 years because of a spider or a monkey, or a squirrel or a frog or a fish, all that's going away. Finally, common sense is coming back. We've been crazy, bizarro world. Finally, common sense. It's a breath of fresh air. I can't wait to see how far it really goes. I can't wait. I was actually rather surprised yesterday in that meeting with the little Hitler dude. And it was nice to see a vice president stand up for our president. When was the last time you ever saw anything like that? Never. We never had a competent president, first of all. And usually they were the best of what we could pick from. And the vice presidents usually are dickheads. If the president ever died and that guy had to step in, we would have the worst president, right? Kind of like Biden was with Obama. But it was really nice to see VP Vance and his attitude towards that little dictator. If anything ever should happen to Trump, and I hope it doesn't, I would feel very comfortable with that guy stepping into the presidency. I mean, the dude looks very competent. Not sure how good he is at running a business, but if he hangs out with Trump for a while, he'll learn, or if just keeps the policies in place and the way of doing things, he'll be fine. In fact, he'll be great. Better than any vice president I ever saw in my 66 years on this earth. That said, I don't want to go off on a tangent on that stuff. I'm just excited, right? I'm excited. 1 month or a little over a month, and there's so many changes. It's absolutely a trip. I can't believe it. I have to pinch myself every day because it's amazing. It's amazing. Okay, so I made a list of, I made a leather weight. It has BBs in it and it's heavy. It's like a 1,500 BBs or something like that. But what it does is it holds the leather down when I work on it. Hey, the dude's he's a worm. That guy, I have a feeling when he gets back to his country, he embarrassed his country. And all he wanted was money. And he had no concern for his people dying. Like, he didn't want peace. He wants money. And I'm sure it's all about his pocket and his bank account and what he can do for his own self with all that money. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I have a feeling he embarrassed his country people. I would bet a bazillion bucks. I mean, I wouldn't bet, but if I was his country people, when he got back, I would give him a pop gun, BB gun, and send him out to the front lines. Tell him, you're not a president anymore. Now you go out, you fight the war that you want. Get out there and push him out to the front lines. He probably wouldn't even get shot by the enemy, their enemy, right? It would probably be shot in the back. Yeah. But I digress down that rabbit hole. Okay, so I'm going to start in no particular order, really. I might have had them a little bit out of order, but I'm going to start with a list of things that I've learned about Sasquatch in 30 plus years after first seeing it. Okay? I have 15 things. I can make the list real long, but I could talk about this for days, man. I could do part 1, part 2, part 3. So I thought I would just talk about the things that I know for sure that I learned that not a lot of people talk about. The only place I've heard of some of these things talked about is on Steve Isdall's channel, the people writing emails. So the first one, they're real. That was the first thing I learned. They're real. I didn't believe it. Not until that thing stepped out. Hey, Viper, how's it going, man? How is it going? Your country's going to get better too, man. Your country, everybody in the world's about for big changes. Big changes. Once they fix the United States, you watch. You watch. Anyways, so the first thing I learned was Bigfoot's real. Believe me, that was a shocker. That changed my life completely. And the only reason it did was because I grew up in the mountains, and from an infant, my parents spent every chance they had with their best friends in the mountains. Like every chance, every weekend, every vacation, every holiday, we went to the mountains and we camped. Very primitively too. It was like survival skills 101, right? So when that thing, like I was 27 years old when that thing revealed, or I don't think he knew I was there. For 6 years, I stayed out of the mountains. Exactly, Viper. Because it scared me so bad. And the reasons it scared me so bad on that very first sighting is the number two. They are not only real, but number two, they are huge, right? That scared me so bad. This one I saw was 10 feet plus. I'm thinking more like 12 feet tall. It had legs like a basketball player. It had the big shoulders, and it went down to a V like a weightlifter. It had the physique of Arnold Schwarzenegger, a 12-foot tall Arnold. He was huge. Jet black hair, black as black can get. And he was huge. He was real, and he was huge. Okay. The third thing that I learned, and it's still on the same first day, he's fast. I've never seen anything so fast besides a machine like a car or a motorcycle. Or this thing could outrun a car from the line 0 to 90 in a split second and be out of your view. This thing was in the wide open, totally wide open. There's nothing around for 75 yards. He had walked right up into a big old huge opening in the woods. I call them forest ninjas. That's what I call them. I'm not going to talk about that in here, kind of a little bit. But it was fast. It ran, I say 100 yards because that's where the biggest tree was that it could get behind. But it might have been 75 yards. But still, right? In 3 to 4 seconds. Like if I'm looking at you and I have the rifle, when it started to run, it was this fast. Okay, it's gone. That fast. 75 yards. It's gone. That fast. 75 yards. That's fast. And not only that, okay? Not only that. That goes to number 4. Number 4. It was graceful. Not only was it big. Hey, Cy. Not only was it big, huge, muscles all on top of muscles, right? The physique of Arnold Schwarzenegger, 12 feet tall. It was so graceful. Like it wasn't like a bodybuilder. You know how they're all clunky? A big bodybuilder, you know, they're clunky. When we run, we kind of bounce, you know, we do this kind of thing. That thing ran from here, 75 yards that fast, but then it wasn't bouncing or clunking. It was so smooth and graceful. It was like watching a ninja master kung fu guy, you know, that went so steady and smooth and graceful. It was out of this world. Scary, right? First it's huge, first it's real, then it's huge, then it's big, like, and then it's fast, and then it's graceful. Yeah, it's not the same, but I'm enjoying being on my own, actually. But hey, it is what it is. Those things right there, that kept me out of the mountains for 6 years. Because over my life, like I said, growing up, I don't remember when we started camping. I just remember we always camped. Like even when I was a little toddler, I got lost at 5 years old. I got lost at 5 years old. I never got lost again after that. But I was so overconfident at 5 of handling myself all by myself in the woods. I got lost. I wasn't even 50 yards from the camp, but I couldn't see the camp. I had walked that little road 100 times or more by the time I was 5, and there was 2 roads that made a Y, and I wasn't paying attention, and I turned right, and that went just right around the camp, right? But you had to go to the edge of the road and look down, and then you could see the camp. But I wasn't paying attention. I was looking at ladybugs and the woods, and I don't know really what I was thinking, but I got lost. When I realized I wasn't in a familiar spot, I freaked and panicked, started screaming. They all found me, and then they started laughing. They made fun of me. I never got lost again. But I've been in the woods that long, sleeping with my sleeping bag on a tarp on the ground. I mean, from like 5, 4, 3, 2, toddler, all the way until that day that I was 27 years old. I would sleep right on the ground, throw a tarp down, throw my sleeping bag down, and then take the other half of the tarp and put it over my sleeping bag so the moisture, dew, and stuff like that didn't get my sleeping bag wet. Totally at ease. There's no monsters. I'm not afraid of bears or anything like that. At 5 years old, I got my first .22 rifle. So I had what I felt made great protection. If anything came after me, I would blast it, right? And I was pretty good with it. Well, after the 6 years goes by, I start going back. And now I'm using all the skills that I learned in the woods to track animals and locate animals, track them down, find them. So I'm using every skill I ever learned growing up just only on that. I quit hunting, but I stopped camping until 6 years. But then when I went camping, I wasn't camping anymore. Like just go enjoy the woods and hike around. I only had one thing on my mind, and I knew when I got there, they were there. I knew they were watching me, and I was going to find them and see them again. Because I had to just make sure that I wasn't imagining, even though I know I wasn't imagining, I was questioning myself. So one of the first things I learned when I went back to the woods, I started tracking them. And I would find tracks. And they looked like they were walking a tightrope, right? Straight tracks. Always 4 feet, 5 feet, 6 foot stride. Walking stride. Running stride could be anywhere from 9 feet to 15 feet. Depending on how big the track was, right? It was huge tracks. Sometimes the track, when it would run, it would be like 10 to 15 feet apart. The tracks. Unreal. And I would follow them. I have, let me go get one. I'll show you. I got one right here. I think I showed it the last time. But I got this one. I got this one a couple of years ago now. Not far from my house. Probably a 25-minute ride from my house. in the foothills. That's one right there. Okay, now I got a ruler right here that I use for my leather. You see that? It's like 15 inches, okay? It's like 15 inches. Let's see if I can do this and see what I'm doing, okay? Let's see. Okay, got it down here. What is that? Around, it's about 8 inches, right? And about 7 inches from here to here. The heel, there's the heel. Okay, so this one was not far from my house. Where I raised my kids in the foothills and where I worked at the casino up there, this was right there. Where when I first started this, when I first saw them and I started looking for them, I didn't think they were that low in the Sierras, but that's another thing on the list that I'll talk about. So the tracks. I started tracking them. And I would be, when you're learning to track, one of the first things you start learning after you learn to identify what you're tracking, for this it was easy, it was a human track. But usually you have to identify the animal, the track of the animal, and then by how crisp or fresh the track looks, you can estimate how old the track is. Okay? Like say you find a track and it has real crisp lines, where in between, it's got crisp edges in the dirt, but then as it starts to fall down and degrade, you can figure out that the track's older and older and older, and usually by a day it's starting to have dirt fall into it and debris get in it and stuff like that, and the older it gets, the more degraded it gets, right? Well, some of the Bigfoot tracks that I happened onto, they were watching me. And I started getting like a sixth sense. They're really, okay, I'm going to get into that here. I just want to explain how, like, some people say, well, you don't know what you're doing in the woods. Like, no, I do. I took the same skills I learned growing up hunting and then applied it to hunting these things. I carried bigger firearms. Like before I would carry, 243 rifle or, a 30-30. I started carrying a 300 Weatherby Magnum all the time and a 44 Magnum on my hip. And I still felt like I didn't have enough firepower, right? I always felt like it didn't matter what you had. If they wanted you, you're a goner. Because of how big, powerful, graceful, fast, right? So I started happening when I knew they were. I would be out looking for tracks all the time. I did not find tracks every single time. Hi, Thelma. I did not find tracks every single time I went out. But I would often. You're right. That's why I always carried a firearm, because of the other two-legged animals, right? The other two-legged animals without all the hair on them. The other ones that could be packing firearms as well. They're more dangerous than a Sasquatch, really, but I still don't know about the verdict is out on the Sasquatch. I don't know if they're real dangerous or not, but that's something we can talk about. So I would find tracks. Usually it was when I was alerted to something around me. and I would go out looking for evidence, and I would find some tracks, and they were always going away from me, right away from the camp. I never found any coming into the camp, but it was like the trackway started at the camp, like it started that. So like I was saying, like they're very, like you said, they're very careful about leaving tracks. They can leave them or not leave them. And I have a feeling some of the times they were leaving tracks for me on purpose, so they could leave me way off, which is a scary thought, and it didn't occur to me right away. It took a few years and a few encounters where I didn't see him, but other things happened, right? That led me to think that if they wanted me, no matter how much firepower I had, they could have me, and they were toying with me. But in that, I learned the trackway would start at the camp, almost like they just popped in right there, right? Real fresh. I mean, like crisp lines in the track. Like they have lines in their feet just like this. When they step in really fine dirt. Hi, Daranera. When they step in fine dirt, they I don't know what they call those lines, but they have them. And when that line is real crisp and not starting to slough off dirt off of it and fall into itself, that's fresh within minutes. I would find those going from my camp, or if I was hiking and I started hearing something from that point where I was away, and I would follow them. The first time I found tracks like that, it wasn't bigger. It wasn't hardly bigger than my footprint. It was so like I had some buddies with me, and they were saying it's a human. It's a human. It's just somebody in the woods. I told them, okay, we're 2 miles hike into the wilderness on a creek. There's trails where they let free range cattle run through there, and where the cattle walk, they make like really defined trails, and it's pulverized, real fine dirt, dust. Like if you hit it, it goes, right? Like baby powder kind of thing, right? This thing intentionally was following that. Because I never found tracks in those. I always looked, but I never did. But it let itself be known that it was near me, and then it stepped in that. It went and followed the cow trail about 2 miles up this hill. Now, cattle, they don't go straight up the mountain. These things do, but it was letting me track them, right? And this is the first time I ever tracked one or found tracks to follow. This is the very first. And this is what I learned, right? I'm telling you what I learned. But all this that I'm telling you right now didn't dawn on me at that time. Later, down the years, I realized they never step in that kind of dirt if they can help it. And if they do, they're letting you know they're there. They're not that easy, right? They're not that easy. That was too easy. And the cattle take the easiest path. So we went 2 miles around and up to the top of this hill, mountain, above the tree line, okay? Above the tree line, probably about, let's say 300 feet elevation above the tree line, onto a big, what was in the top was a big giant dome of granite. But all around it was real fine decomposed granite. And where the cows walked, it was pulverized like baby powder granite. And they went up over the top and then wound back down to the other side, down to a creek, another creek. So we went from one creek over here, up the mountain, and then you follow it all the way down back to this other creek. Okay, it's about 2 miles, about maybe 2.5. It ran that whole trail. It was walking. pristine. I can see the lines in its tracks, just really detailed, fresh. I know I'm right behind it. And at a few points in there, I thought maybe it was stopping and turning and watching me and then keep going, right? Got to the top of the ridge, the mountain, and right as you come up to where that dome of granite starts, where you lose the trail when you pick it up again on the other side of that dome, about 10 feet before you get to that big dome rock on the very top, the track ended. Okay, now there's still pea gravel, like decomposed little pieces of gravel all over, and you would see the indent. You wouldn't be able to see the definition of what you're following on that trail, but you would see, you know, even if I walk through there or you walk through there, you would leave a track that you could follow. It just wouldn't be as defined as what you're following on that trail, that cow trail. It ended. And my buddies are saying, well, it's a human. I'm like, we're way out here. It's October. It was like the last weekend that you could go out before a storm. And it was cold at night, and then the day maybe 50. Right? It was cold. We're all wearing jackets and boots. There's nobody out there walking 2 miles up a cow trail away from civilization where there's no roads or anything like that. Get real, dude. Get real. There's nobody out here walking barefoot, even though it's the same size as your foot. That's not a human like us. So then, you know, when you lose a track, I'll get to that. I didn't put that on here, but I'll talk about that. The knocking. Actually, I'll do it right now, and I'll get back to the track because I don't want to lose my place. Once you know they're real, and they know you're real, okay? It's like you're tagged. They know you're real. So like before I knew they were real, they were around, but I always wrote off weirdness. I didn't understand what it was. It didn't make any sense. It could be somebody messing with me, even though I'm in the wilderness again, right? Way out there. I haven't seen anybody in days. And then it seems like somebody's messing with me. And I guess to keep my feeling safe or not be scared, I always wrote it off as that, and I'm armed and it's okay, because if they do confront me, they'll just disappear, which I think happens to people. They disappear. Nobody comes back talking about Bigfoot tore me up or whatever. Hardly ever is there any of that, because you just disappear. So the wood knocks. You can go into an area where you suspect that there's Bigfoots around. And you can take a big stick and hit it on a tree that has good resonance and will travel, and hit that a couple of times. If they are there and they know you know, they will knock back. Or they will start hollering. They will let you know they're there. I've done it over and over and over. You can even ask Jeff. We did it all the time, still do. And some people, they make fun and say, well, you out there knocking on a tree. There's a reason, because I don't know if they have to answer back or if they're going to toy with you. I don't know everything about them, right? All I know is if they're around there and they want you to know they're there, they will respond to the knocks. They will. Like we went to Thule Reservation and camped with, I shouldn't say her name, but we camped up there with her. We were there 15 minutes. And, you know, Jeff and I agreed, let's knock on a tree. So Jeff, we started carrying a bat just to hit the trees because it would make really good, crisp, loud, echoing sound when you hit it on the right tree or log. And he hit it 1, 2, 3. Within 15 minutes, there was 2 of them hollering and screaming all around. So much so that the people that we went with up there that lived around there, they started freaking out. Like, what? They had never heard that before. Never. And it carried on for hours after. So a little tip, if you're looking for them and they know you know, that's a good way to find out if they're around or not, right? One of my high school teachers is in there. His name was James. I can't remember his last name. It's been a long time. But yeah, in the first book, he was lieutenant colonel when he disappeared. When I was hanging with him and flying in his twin Cessna 310, and we're flying search and rescue. So when somebody would go missing in the mountains, he would call me up and we would meet, and then he would fly and look, but I would really be looking with binoculars and stuff, and we would fly grid patterns over the area trying to find the people that got lost. But he was my 7th grade teacher, 8th grade teacher. See, that happens too, Digger. You can do that too. I've never had success with that so much, but the knock-in, I've had a lot of success with the knock-in part. Okay, now the tracks. I lost the track at the top of the ridge, going up on the rock cap. And when you lose a track in the mountains, like the guys that track, they know what I'm talking about. You start making a circle going further and further out from the track, and you slowly start looking, and you try to pick that trackway up again. And usually, if it's a regular animal or a human, eventually, not far, like I would say probably 10 yards at the most, you will pick that trackway up again. It might be more difficult to follow than the cow trail, but if you know what you're doing, you take your time and move methodically, you can stay on a trackway. Pretty much nothing can lose you if you're taking your time and really looking as you move along from one track to the next track to the next track. If you lose a track, then you do the same thing. You start looking in a circle around and see if maybe they made a turn or this or that, or they doubled back. This thing disappeared. The only thing I could say is it disappeared. The track stopped. I thought maybe it jumped from that 10 feet before it got to that granite dome, and the trail picked up on the other side of it. I could see it like 30, 40 yards over. And I went over that rock dome back to that trail. Nothing. It was gone. It was like it got picked up by a helicopter, or it flew away, or it disappeared. I think it disappeared. Something I learned. Then there was another one that totally freaked me out. Okay, if that didn't freak me out, this really freaked me out. Sometimes we would camp in areas, waterways, which I'll get to later, but there would be grass, like, a foot tall, sometimes 2 feet tall, sometimes 6 inches tall, but grass around the waterway. And I would find tracks around the waterway, but I would find areas sometimes where they were like down on all fours, like crawling on their belly. Freaked me out. Like I would find tracks where they're walking on 2 feet, but then I started finding tracks where knuckle prints, fingers and toes, no knees, okay, fingers and toes, and they were crawling down low enough where they were laying the grass down with their belly, making make it a trackway or laying down the grass where you could see where they went through it. But on the sides of it, there would be fingerprints or knuckles and toes. I never seen them do it, okay? But I've talked to people that saw them do that. It was like, and the people that told me about it was like, they did like a spider where their body was all the way stretched out like that and their head was up like unnaturally up, and real fast crawl like how they run, fast, creepy, scary, right? The more I learned about them, the more I realized they outclassed me so bad. There was nothing I could do if they wanted to get me. And I started not feeling comfortable in my tent. I felt like I was in a sack lunch. The tent was a sack lunch. Scared the you-know-what out of me. So the tracks can disappear. So let's go back. They're real, okay? They're real. They're huge. They're fast. They're graceful, all right? Buttworm, take care, buttworm. I love that. I'm going to do a worm farm for you, man. I'm going to do a worm farm. You're going to learn about worms. The tracks can disappear. They crawl on their belly. And then the next thing I learned, I always thought they were always at night. Either right before dark is when I would be tracking them, or early in the morning. I never found anything in the day for the first few years. That, and squirrels too. Squirrels will out them, especially the blackbirds. And the blue jays will out them. You're right. But see, we don't even, like, if you don't know they're real and you discount that, you think you're the one setting them off. So the next thing I learned was they were all day and all night. There was day ones that we would find and see with our own eyes. In fact, in the day ones, I don't know how many, I never saw this. I've seen them in the day. But people I would talk to that seen them in the day, and they would run away from them. They would be running away from them. They would be running along and disappear, and they're like, and then they'd see it pop in, still running, and then it would disappear, and then it would pop in, it was still running, going away, and it would be popping in and out, like phasing in and out. And I've talked to a dozen people over the years that have described that to me. And I never told anybody, I really didn't talk about it, but that's another one of their abilities. They could disappear. That made sense to me because of the tracks disappearing. They phase in and out. That's the only thing I could call it, or pop in and out. I don't know if they're popping into something, another dimension, and popping out. Yeah, the night ones are more scary because they could be so close. Well, even in the day, they could be so close. What am I saying? I don't know. So then the next thing, okay, this is number 8. There's more, you might be encountering one. More than likely, there's more than one. Usually 3. Yeah, they can make the sound of a car door. I'll get to that in my down here lower. Usually there's more than one. And what they'll do, what I learned was, when you're hearing one and you're looking in that direction, if you look the other way, you might see it. Because they're grabbing your attention to take it off. Like, you might catch the movement of one, right? But then one will whistle or throw a pebble or knock on a tree. And you look over there, and then the one that's behind you, where you're not looking, is moving. And it might be so close, like it might be able to reach out and grab you close, and you don't see it. Scary. Sometimes they could be standing in front of a tree on your side of the tree, and you'll walk right by it within arm's reach, and nobody in your group will see it. And then one guy behind that's lagging behind, it'll move, and then it'll see it standing there leaning up against a pine tree. As you walk, everybody just walk by it. But when you turn, everyone, when they freak out and make a noise or scream or whatever, when you immediately turn to look, it's already gone. Forest ninja. Forest ninja. They can hide in plain sight. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know how many people I've talked to that had that happen. Okay? Okay. They can mimic any sound. Any sound. I mean any. They can mimic kittens, birds, animals. They can say your name. How they know your name? I don't know. They all knew my name. Because I would be out hiking in the middle of nowhere. All of a sudden, Alan. I'd be like, who said that? You know, I'd be like, yeah. They will say your name. The only thing that where I rationalize how they knew my name is I grew up there. You know, my dad would yell at me. People would be yelling my name. That's the only way that I could think that they knew my name. They can make any sound. They can make pots and pans clanging, car doors slam, engine noises, like you were saying. Any sound, they can make it. And you will be tricked. You will think it's that animal or it's that, whatever it is they're making the noise, you'll think it's that. Even like we were at this one camp at the Thule Res, and one was meowing like a kitten. They saw it later on. It was 8 feet tall. It finally stood up. It was hiding behind a bush, meowing like a kitten. And when they got close, it stood up and looked at them and walked away. And I heard they got pictures of it with their phone because they were videotaping, or they got it. They won't share it though. I've tried to get that because it was like 10 feet, and they said it's great pictures, but they're not going to share it. Okay, now there's another thing they do that I learned early on, but I didn't know what it was. And later I heard other people, like when I would talk to them, this is before the internet, okay? A lot of what I'm telling you is before the internet. So I would learn it from experience or asking people. I got made fun of so bad, ridiculed. I mean, but I don't care, right? I know they're real. Like I said in the very first one, they are real, okay? Make that perfectly clear. They are real. And I don't care what anybody thinks. They can laugh, they can joke, they can call me names, whatever. They call me crazy. I don't give a shit, okay? So I would talk to other people, try to find people that had encounters or they saw them. And there was this thing that I had happen to me. I didn't know what it was. And I wasn't even sure if it was them. I just thought I was having like a weird, like my body all of a sudden was doing something weird. And they call it zapping. They can, I don't even know if it's infrasound. I don't know what it is. But they have an ability to mess with your body. And even though you might not see them, they might not have wood knocked, they might not have mimicked anything, they might not have made walking sounds or anything. And all of a sudden you're getting zapped, or your body is being messed with. Like you can get dizzy, your breathing will get weird, you'll start sweating, having palpitations. I mean, like all kinds of problems. They're doing it. And I didn't put that together right away. And the internet has kind of confirmed it once it started happening. And I was reading, but I've talked to probably a dozen people before the internet, and they have that. Okay. And going on that line, one of my good friends, Joe, he was on he had an encounter and found tracks. He was on the same kind of trajectory as me over the years, right? Learning things about him, tracking him, a hunter. He kept deer hunting, but he also would be looking for sign while he deer hunted. I quit deer hunting. I focused 100% of my attention on them. The totally supernatural. How do you disappear? How do you end your tracks? How do you account for them popping in and out as they're running? How can they make all the different noises? How could they zap you? Like, I don't even know if that's a good term. That's just what we called it. And then when the internet came on, that's what everybody was calling it. It was like, wow, hey. So Joe, he had a pacemaker. He's an older guy like me, and he had a pacemaker, and we would go up every chance we got in the summertime to our spot where always, like, every time he went, something would happen, right? Nearly every time, not always, but nearly every time. They were doing the zapping thing, but they particularly picked him out and would zap him and zap him. And after a little while, he's like, and I think it was messing with his pacemaker. And he went in, we'd all have our tents up. He had his own tent. And he went in and he would get up and say, after a couple hours in there, and say, they're zapping me in my tent. How, you know? Well, we never put this together, but after, I don't know, 3 years, summers, spring, summer, and fall, 3 years or 4 years of going out there and having this happen. One day we went and there was a storm and it rained and rained and rained. But there was times where there was no rain, but it was like off and on rainstorms all weekend. So his tent was leaking and I had a spare tarp. So in order to keep his stuff dry in his tent, we put a tarp over his tent and staked it down. He was getting zapped for 2 days straight here, even in his tent. Put the tarp over it, the zapping stopped when he was in his tent. I don't know how that works. I don't know why. But once that was like, really? So then after that, it wasn't raining, okay? And he would start getting zapped, even in his tent, put the tarp over it, the zapping stopped for him. So then for after that, I'm putting tarp over my tent every time and his tent. We realize they can't mess with you. I think they can see through the mesh of the tent, like that thin nylon, okay? That leads me to number 13. So like they zap, how to stop the zap in your tent. I don't know how to stop it any other way, right? Or go in a camper or something. So number 13, and this goes along with, can they see through the tent? Well, guess what? They also can see the IR, infrared spectrum. And we put out game cameras. They avoid the game cameras. They move the game cameras. They smash the game cameras. They malfunction the game cameras, but they can see the infrared. Even we're carrying really high quality infrared cameras with shoot it, and we have a beam that shoots at infrared. As soon as you turn it on, they move out of the range of the infrared. Just out of the range. As soon as you turn it off, they move back in. As soon as you turn it back on, they move just out of the range of the infrared. They could see it. Over and over and over, we played that game to where we realized we're not going to get them with a game camera because game cameras use infrared. We're not going to get them with our infrared security cameras. We're not going to get them with the infrared handheld camera. Okay? And that leads to the next thing. They can mess with your electronics. Now, you're talking about, are they paranormal or... Yes. They can mess with your electronics. They can make batteries die. They can screw up your, a game camera, for instance, we put bait, apples with stickers. We didn't realize it at first, but pile of apples that have stickers on them. The game camera, 3 of them, at first we were using one game camera, but then all the bait would be gone. Hey, World Bigfoot Central, all the bait would be gone, all the apples would be gone, but the game camera didn't catch it. And game cameras don't work great, okay? Even you can run by a game camera and it'll go off and take pictures, but it won't catch you, okay? So then what we would do, we started putting 2 cameras facing the bait and also could see the other camera. And we started going higher up in the trees with them because we thought people could be stealing them, even though we're in the middle of nowhere. Okay, now we have 3 game cameras aimed at the bait where every camera could see the cameras, right? And the apples disappear, but the pile of stickers, right where all that pile of apples is, there's a pile of stickers, but no pictures on any of the game cameras. But the game camera would be taking pictures, normal, there's the pile of apples, a bird, a deer, a cow, whatever. And then all of a sudden there would be several black pictures, just black, nothing there. Then the camera would start taking pictures again, right? It would start taking pictures, but the apples are gone. Now, all 3 cameras malfunction like that. So the apples are there on all 3 of them, and then all of them take a series of dark, black pictures with nothing on it. And then when they all start functioning again, the apples are gone. And then, when we saw that, then while we're trying to figure that out, somebody's like, hey, look at this pile of stickers. So that means whatever did that, if it was an animal, a bear, a deer, whatever, they would have ate the sticker. They can't peel the sticker off. So the stickers are taken off and left in a little pile right where the pile of apples is. Okay, this is done over and over and over, you guys. It's not just one off, okay? It's just one of them we talked about. It was the first time we figured it out. We've done it again and again. They mess with our stuff. They can make your batteries die. They can make everything malfunction. They can make everybody's cameras or cell phones shut off, just like that. And when you turn them on, they'll be going whack-a-doodle, right? Whack-a-doodle. Weird, okay? Cryptic interference, that's right. And they do it all the time. All right. Okay, I only have 15, so I started with 1. They are real. 2, they're huge. 3, they're fast. 4, they're graceful. 5, they can crawl on their belly. And I don't think their belly was really touching. It was just knuckle and toe prints, okay? But where you knew that it had to be down on its belly, okay? Tracks can disappear. They're around day and night. They run in groups of more than 1. They can mimic any sound. They zap, but you can stop the zapping in your tent by putting a tarp over it. They interfere, or they see in the IR. They can see the IR, I guarantee it. They interfere with electronics. That was number 13. Number 14, they are everywhere. They're not just they can be anywhere, okay? Anywhere. They could be, if you have a creek running behind your house, even if there's houses on each side of it, they'll be running that creek. They could be anywhere. In the town, out of the town, in the mountains. They could be anywhere, okay? I've talked to a lot of people that see them. After they see them, they even could be in your house invisible. They can be anywhere, all right? Anywhere. And the last one, and this one's a bonus one, to everybody. Number 15. If you're looking for a Bigfoot, you want to find one, you don't know where to look, find a waterway or bodies of water, especially waterways like creeks and rivers. Almost always, if I spend enough time in an area, and go up and down the waterway, I will find evidence of them. So if you're looking for a Bigfoot and you think you want to see one, it's life-changing. Be careful what you wish for. You can follow that, but if you want to find the trackway, go to the water, go to the creeks, go to the rivers. I learned that like right away. Like the places that I would have most encounters, have the most things happen to me, was near creeks and rivers, lakes. I mean, that I would find the tracks in around the lakes, in the sand of the river, little river banks and creekways. I would find evidence. I have some videos on here. You can go back and look. There's a short that shows where a family of them tore up the side of this river in the sand. All kinds of size of tracks, little ones, big ones. It was in January. Everybody's like, well, they could have been, playing in the water. It was January. It was cold, 32 degrees. A family of people are not running around in the night playing around a river. We happened onto that around 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and the tracks were pristine, like I was talking about, crisp edges and water just filling up the heel area and splashes where they were splashing in the water. That was fresh. That happened right before we got there. We may have run them out of there by coming up that river. So if you see that, you find that video, I can't remember what the name of it is. I've done so many videos, you guys. I can't remember all the names. I'm not good at naming my videos either. But waterways. If you're at a waterway, you're not really looking for them, but be aware while you're at the waterway. I have probably 200 people reporting over the years telling me, fishermen, that they've had rocks thrown at them. I mean, big rocks thrown at them, huge, that you can't even pick up, let alone throw 100 yards, right? These are just come breaking through the branches of the trees, and they look and see it coming right at them and then land in the river right at their feet and splash them. And these guys didn't believe in Bigfoot, and they didn't want to believe in Bigfoot. They just can't explain where the rock came from, right? Some of them would see a Bigfoot or a Dogman, but I'm not talking about Dogman right now. I have a whole nother list I could talk about Dogman. We're just talking about Bigfoot right now. So that was my list of 15 things I've learned in 30 plus years of looking for Bigfoot. And I thought it was time that, because I'm all over the map, and I talk about this, I talk about that, and I get off on rabbit trails, and I never stay focused on any one thing hardly. And I decided one of the things I'm going to do in 2025 is be more focused. Try not, but I like to do live, and I like to talk about what you guys talk about. So if you guys aren't into it, I won't be into it. Whatever I wanted to talk about. Usually I really do want to talk about it, but sometimes it's boring. I think it's great, but you guys don't. So you guys are the reason I'm here anyway. So why would I want to talk about something that you don't want to talk about? But I've been thinking about this list and it took me a while to write this list. It's not something I just pulled out of my hat. I was going to say something else, but it's not nice. So I pulled it out. It's not something I pulled out of my hat, abracadabra, poof, there's a list. I had to really think about it, and I wanted to really drill down on the things that were like milestones or main things I learned over the years and share it with you guys. Because I've been at this a long time, longer than Jeff, longer than a lot of people. Yeah, I saw that. I did check that out at a waterway. Okay. A lot of people encounter them at the waterways. I want to do the same thing with aliens. I want to do a drill down with aliens. One of the things I found over the years is when I'm talking to people about Bigfoot and taking their encounter or their sighting, or they had something really paranormal happen, they also have UFO encounters. They go hand in hand. UFO, Bigfoot, Bigfoot, UFO. Sometimes they have an encounter with a Bigfoot and then they see a UFO. Sometimes they see a UFO, then they see a Bigfoot. So these things go hand in hand right here. Not so much Dogman, but Bigfoot and UFO, UFO and Bigfoot. So my next list I'm working on, it might not be the next live I do. I'm working on a list for the UFO and aliens. And so be looking forward to that one, and I'll make it in the title like I did this one, where we'll drill down of what I've learned over the years looking for Bigfoot, but only couldn't avoid the UFO topic, right? So I gotta go. I have a brand new great grandson named Tobias. I'm gonna call him the Tobster, but I'm gonna see if I can't go visit him right now. But I love you guys. I pray right now that you be blessed in every area of your life, your finances, your health, your family. Be abundantly blessed in Jesus' name. Love you guys. I'll see you soon, real soon, maybe tomorrow. I don't know. But you guys have a great weekend. It was great drilling down about the Sasquatch, and just be blessed. All right. Later.